My third step that I want to teach you about quieting the mind, and these really aren't steps because they're not really sequential. They're tools that you can use. So I should say my third tool to give you is just think about the way you're using your mind. There's a way to use your mind, a way to use your conscious mind that'll make everything better. Think slow and think one at a time. So I'll tell you what you don't want to do, okay? A lot of people short-circuit their mind. I often short-circuit my mind. I have to remind myself to not do so by slowing down. So think of your mind like a machine, okay? This machine, if operated properly, will do amazing things for you. But if you don't operate it properly, it will break down. I remember I thought of an example the other day that was, I was vacuuming my floor, and the vacuum all of a sudden got all clogged up, or it just stopped working. And I thought, okay, there's got to be a reason for this. And at first I was struggling to figure out what the reason was or why it wouldn't work. And then I eventually, tried to logically figure it out. So I kind of took it apart, and I noticed that in the tube, I emptied the tube out and it was full of rocks. It was full of all these rocks. I just thought about how that's exactly like the mental clutter that we have. We let all this noise into our mind, and it's like the processors in our mind just get filled with all this blockage, and we stop thinking clearly. And so how do you avoid that from coming in? Again, you want to think calmly, so very slowly or calmly, and you want to think one thing at a time. That's how your mind should operate. People oftentimes will think like this. So I use this to describe it. See, we have one thought, and before that thought ends, we have another thought, and before that thought ends, another thought. So you have all these overlapping thoughts that break down this wonderful machine that we have to be able to process information. So if you'll take things slowly, one thing at a time, one thought at a time, you'll do so much better. There might be there's an example that might help. So think of your mind not as a blender at high speed, okay? Imagine a blender at high speed. You got this blender at full speed going, right? And then you drop a piece of cinnamon accidentally inside. And as that blender's going at full speed, you try to recover that piece of cinnamon, right? So you reach in, you're trying to get it, but the blender just spits it out, right? You're not going to be able to get that piece of cinnamon very effectively if it's in a blender at high speed, right? On the other hand, think of your mind as slowly kneading dough. If you could operate your mind that slowly. Now let's use the cinnamon example again. Imagine you're kneading dough at a very slow and calm pace, right? You're slowly kneading it, and then a piece of cinnamon falls in. In that process, how hard would it be to pick up that piece of cinnamon? It'd be a lot easier when the dough, if you're slowly moving dough, compared to a fast speed blender, right? Same with your mind. You want your mind to always operate as if slowly kneading dough. So you can even think of your mind as going in very slow motion.